So, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the YesSHECan project. I am so happy today to be joined by the gorgeous Jess. Hello, Jess.
Hello, it's so nice to be here.
So nice to have you. So I've been doing a bit of research into you and your background, and I cannot wait for this episode. It's going to be really exciting. But if there's anybody that doesn't know you or doesn't recognize you from a TV show we'll get onto later, um, could you do a quick introduction, please, into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So, hi everyone. My name's Jess. So lovely to be here, as I said. So, I am primarily a breathing and a wellbeing coach. So, I've been a personal trainer now for about 12 years and a yoga teacher for about 10 or 11 years now. And I got into sort of the breathing and well-being space sort of as we were coming out of lockdown, really started to delve a little bit deeper into how to make people just feel better every day.
Oh,
And I found that, really going into the breathwork, breathing space, looking at nervous system regulation and well-being in general is it feels like a calling to me. So
oh.
yes, I'm a yoga teacher, personal trainer, breathwork coach, and that's generally what I do. And I also do a little bit of presenting here and there as well because I love talking.
Oh. I
Don't
think
we
it's
all?
not only just talking, but it's like you light up when you talk about helping people to feel better. So it's like it's like incest in you, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I do
It's almost
often
like it's your
like,
calling.
yeah, and I get one of the biggest compliments I can ever get is when people say, "Oh, you just seem so passionate about what you do." And for me, I don't want, what's the point in doing it if you're not? I used to be a performer and I loved performing and it was an incredible career and I achieved a lot. But I think I realized how much I lost the love for it because it became sort of a career, you
Yeah.
know? And
Hmm.
as much as we want a career and a career is important, but I'm so passionate about making sure that you can still love what you do and not just become like, oh God, I've got to do this thing again and again
Hmm.
and again?
It's almost like keep the passion for it rather than it becoming a
Yeah.
chore for you.
Absolutely. And I think for me, I've realized that that comes from making sure I get enough rest,
Yeah.
making sure that I look after myself, and then I can then help look after others as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But being able to be in a position, in a role, sorry, that you are helping people, but not only making yourself happy, but working in a space where you're developing your own self to make yourself even happier by the
Mm.
stuff that you're doing is just brilliant. I swear you must just like walk around with a smile on your face constantly.
We can't always be smiles all the time, but I do try.
Bless. Well, you touched upon, Jess, your career as a performer previously. Um, was there anything specifically, because they're quite like polar opposites, so being an actress and a performer and then going to being a health and well-being coach and yoga practitioner, was there anything specific that inspired the transition from one career to another?
You know what? It was actually they crossed over for a very long time because anyone who sort of if anyone who's listening sort of knows about the performing world, it can be very up and down.
Yeah.
And you'll have a job for maybe a couple of years or maybe a week or two, and then
Mhm.
suddenly you don't anymore. And it just means that you have to find something in between
Yeah.
that you love or that can keep you going. I know a lot of my friends when we first started out, I mean, when I first started as a performer, when I was 18, I was just doing retail jobs, I was doing
Mhm.
temp work, jumping from thing to thing. And I think when I was younger, like that's fine. But I did struggle with that as I started to get older. And it was actually a friend of mine who just said, don't you just like you love fitness? Why don't you be a PT? And they just dropped this sort of little, nugget.
Truth
And I was
bomb.
like, yeah. And I was like, actually, maybe I'll look into it. And so I started sort of doing personal training. I was a spin instructor for a long time, and I was doing that alongside performing.
Right.
Then I came to the yoga, which again, I know it's such a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Yoga did change my life. It was just such a dramatic change for me mentally and physically.
Mhm.
And I started doing that alongside the work as well. It was actually after COVID and lockdown that I made the decision to completely go into well-being.
Yeah.
But I'd kind of been doing that anyway for a long time, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. Drip
And the
feeding
reason,
yourself there along the way.
yeah, and I think that so for me, I was in a West End show. I was in School of Rock for a couple of years,
Amazing.
and when I came out of that in sort of the August time before we then went into lockdown that next year.
Right.
And I think for me, I just sort of realized that I'd achieved what I wanted to achieve in that industry. And
Yeah.
hey, never say never, she might go back. But
Yeah.
but I think that I just went, I've actually done what I wanted. And I love this work that I do so much now
Mhm.
that let's just do it,
Oh,
And actually some people say, oh, do you regret it? Do you miss it? And actually the answer is no. There's elements of it that I miss, of
yeah.
course, but yeah.
Wow. It's almost as if you were kind of led this way by doing something that you really enjoyed, which was performing at the time, but needing something for you personally outside of performing, which actually led you down a whole new path.
And I
It's
think a lot
amazing.
of people do find that. And it sounds, sometimes the way you word it can sound quite selfish because you you go, oh, well, this is really, really helping me,
Yeah.
but then I think I used to be and still can be, very up and down with my moods, with anxiety, with stress. I mean, now I'm definitely the most balanced I've ever been, and I can only put that down to this work that I do.
Yeah.
But I think, again, it's not a coincidence that I ended up doing this work
Hmm.
because it absolutely helps me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because it's done that, it's made me passionate about trying to help others feel that same way.
Exactly. I think that's it's probably some of the best businesses are born from a personal experience anyway, because when you have something that's helped you so much in your life, it's almost, I don't know if it's a woman thing. I think it is, because I think we're so empathetic, aren't we? It's that
Mm.
we want to pass that feeling on to other people. We want to
Mhm.
help as many people the same way that we were helped ourselves, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So Jess, would you say, I know that you said that yoga changed your life essentially. Have you ever come across any misconceptions, or did you maybe yourself have any misconceptions about yoga or breath work or something like that? Is there any
Oh,
myths that you want to debunk?
I mean, there's so many misconceptions about it, sadly. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say myself that I came to yoga from a very physical perspective, and I think
Right.
that's a very Western thing,
Hmm.
That is, we come at it for the physical benefits first,
Yeah.
whereas actually, traditionally, yoga is about the mental benefits and the impact that yoga has on the world around us, not just on you as an individual.
Wow.
Yoga is a whole system. This could be a whole other podcast.
Yes.
But it is a whole system of living yoga. And that sounds sometimes intimidating, I understand, but it's not intimidating at all. It means treat people with respect, treat yourself with respect.
Yeah.
It means, be kind. It's a whole beautiful system, but I think the misconception is that firstly you have to be good at it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't. Come to yoga as you. It's the most accepting, beautiful practice. You come to yoga and you just focus in on yourself for 45, 60 minutes, even 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long practice.
Hmm.
And you just take some time for you, which you kind of alluded to before. We push and we strain and we aim to achieve as much as we possibly can, which is brilliant. But actually, sometimes we also need that just step back, and yoga can give us that space to do that.
Wow.
in so many ways.
Yeah.
Physically with the yoga postures, the movements that you do, but also the meditation, the relaxation part of yoga. There's so many beautiful nuances with it. So
Oh,
I really urge people to explore it in lots of different ways because
yeah.
I think you can go to one class and potentially have not the best experience for yourself and go, oh, I'm never going to do it again.
Yeah.
But give it another go because there's always going to be a different teacher, a different style, a different approach that will
Okay.
resonate with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me personally, I've never been to yoga and I've always felt, me myself, I've always felt intimidated to go. Like,
Oh,
I don't know whether that's because I feel like, like the pictures and the videos and the stuff that you see, everyone has like these such slim bodies and they can do all of these bendy poses and they seem to really know what they're doing. But I would feel uncomfortable to walk into a room and be like a newbie and, almost like being at school, worried about, am I wearing the right clothes? Am I going to be able to stretch the way that she can?
and
I
you
don't know
know
what it
what?
is.
It's it's so sad because you're not the only one that feels that way, and
Okay.
yoga is so not that.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, and it shouldn't be because
Mhm.
I think I say it's so not that, but I also appreciate that it kind of is to a lot of people because social media does push the whole wear these leggings and
Yeah.
you've got to have this, you should, and it's kind of like it is very white and it's very slim bodied
Mhm.
when actually yoga should be, every person of every background should be able to practice it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what size you are, it doesn't matter what shape you are, color you are. Yoga is for you,
Yeah.
and yoga is the most inclusive, beautiful practice. It really is about just finding the teacher that you resonate with, the style that you resonate with. And, it's so actually accessible at the same time. You can type into YouTube a 10-minute yoga and it will come up.
Yeah.
There'll be thousands of videos, and you can just have a little look through, hear the voice that you like, see
Mhm.
the style that you like. And trust me, if you come to a class with yoga, there's no judgment in that space, or at least there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know,
And if there
you
is, you're in the wrong room.
And if there is, you're in the wrong room. Seriously. Absolutely. Usually, though, it's the judgment from ourselves
Yes. Yeah.
um, and the preconceived ideas that we have.
Mhm.
But actually, if we can go into a space and just go, I'm just going to see what this is like and just be myself in this
Mhm.
room, you can get so much out of it. It's amazing.
Oh wow. I honestly, even until today, I did not know it was that deep, to be honest.
I mean, yoga dates back thousands of years.
Wow.
I actually, funnily enough, right next to me, I've got a really beautiful book that I was on the train the other day and I was reading it because I use it for inspiration for my classes sometimes. Because
Mhm.
yoga is that sort of a whole system that's based on a lot of philosophy.
Right.
And this book is called Living the Sutras. Now, the Yoga Sutras, sutra means thread, and the Yoga Sutras were by a sage called Patanjali. And what he did was he basically brought a lot of philosophy and methodology together to
Yeah.
create a little path of what sort of yoga is.
Right.
And the sutras just teach us about yoga. And this book, Living the Sutras by Kelly Donato, Amy Pierce Hayden, this one here, um, it basically breaks down yoga wisdom beyond the yoga mat, but in a really simple way. It's
Yeah.
such a lovely book. So if anyone
Oh,
wants to sort of understand like the sort of like teachings of yoga
yeah.
beyond just the physical, I really recommend having a read of that. It's such a simple book. Like I say, I use it even sometimes just for inspiration for my own classes.
Oh wow. Because it's
Mm.
it's almost like, I don't know whether it was because of lockdown, but it became so much more accessible and the kind of work that you do kind of exploded in a way, didn't it? Because
Oh,
people were
yeah.
looking for that comfort or a change in their lifestyle as a distraction, whatever that may be. But I
Yep.
think because there was so much that came at once, it was really difficult and sometimes overwhelming, like for people like me that haven't been in the space before, haven't really felt comfortable in that kind of thing, because there was so much, it was almost like, okay, I can't look into any of it.
Oh, yeah. Overwhelm is real. Like, it's like if you've got 60 things on your to-do list, you'll never do any of them,
So
It's it
true.
it it is, it's a lot. And yeah, I mean, lockdown was incredible in one sense because you did have all these people trying things that they'd never tried. Throughout lockdown, I led daily meditations on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Um, and just had a really lovely amount of people coming along every day. 4 o'clock we would do it every day. People who'd
Oh,
never done it before, and yeah, it was a very, I hate to say the word special. It was a very special time in many ways, but it was also obviously pretty awful.
of course.
Um, but I think, like you say, it kind of opened up people tried lots of new things and people
Yeah.
discovered, and we suddenly are working in a different way, a lot of us now as well. I mean, I work from home at least one day a week now, which I would
Yeah.
never have been able to do back then before
Yeah.
that.
It would feel so odd, wouldn't it,
Yeah,
beforehand?
you'd be like, what am I doing at home on a weekday? Like,
Dressed at the top, pajamas
yeah,
at the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah, exactly.
So, Jess, you actually were on ITV's this morning talking about eye yoga. I want to rewind. First of all, oh my gosh, congratulations. Um,
Thank you.
how was that experience? How did it come about? And what on earth is eye yoga?
So let's start at the beginning. Yes. Um, so I work for a big gym chain in London called Gymbox,
Okay.
and I'm one of their master trainers. So I head up the holistic category, which encompasses all sort of yoga, Pilates, anything in that holistic realm. And I
Mhm.
also head up the mind category, which we launched in October 2023, which is we're the first gym actually to ever create classes specifically for mental health.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud to work there. I'm
Wow.
so proud to head that up. And
Yeah.
but basically, this again, God, how many times we're going to talk about lockdown? In lockdown, Gymbox said to me, right, we want to create these classes on eye yoga. And I was like, right, let's have a look into it. Did lots of research into it.
Googles.
Yeah, literally, and actually was also looking at, like I was saying before, some of the philosophy of yoga and how it comes into the eyes and the physical part of that, because there's a lot of stuff around the third eye
Yeah.
chakra. For those that don't worry if you don't know, but the chakras are sort of energy centers, that third eye space, but also the physical movement of the eyes and also how the eyes affect our nervous system. Get to that bit in a second. But basically, I created these classes for Gymbox, and that was obviously quite a while ago. And then because we did that and we were the first kind of people to do that, I then ended up doing a little class and was featured in Women's Health talking about
Wow.
eye yoga. And this we did it for a little eye cream,
Mhm.
um, and that is how, now fast forward to this year, how ITV then got in touch because they'd seen me talking about it in Women's Health and they wanted to feature it.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up on this morning
Amazing.
talking about it. But if people don't really understand what the heck it is, it's basically mindfulness techniques
Yeah.
that focus in on the eyes.
Okay.
Now, as we said on this morning, and as I will say now, it is not a fix for any eye issues that people have.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they do have specific eye issues, they obviously shouldn't really take part unless their optician says that it's okay. But they're very simple exercises, basically. Physically, you're moving the eyes around to get the musculature moving.
Yeah.
But you're also shifting your perspective. We are spending a lot of time on screens. We're spending a lot of time with our eyes looking at something quite close to us.
Hmm.
When a lot of us are not spending much time using the eyes to their full capacity.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
and so when you shift your perspective, if I actually just right now just look outside into the distance, that is using my eyes in a different way.
Yeah.
But fascinatingly, it also impacts your nervous system. So when you look into the distance, Your eyes do something called divergence. They divert, divergence, and that is linked with your rest and digest system of the nervous system.
Wow.
When you're looking close at things, because we're really concentrating, we're
Yeah.
focusing, that is linked with, that's called convergence, that's linked with the sympathetic nervous system or the fight and flight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's incredible. So,
Yeah.
where you can move your eyes in ways that will impact your nervous system. You can obviously get your eyes moving, like even blinking can help with eye strain and dry eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's people think that it's just this sort of funny little fad. And, yes, eye yoga can be an interesting thing. Would we just sit down and do half an hour of it? Maybe we wouldn't, but we can incorporate these little just blinking. There's a beautiful practice where you can actually, if you rub your palms together, you then just place your palms over your eyes. That's called palming. And it helps to just rest the eyes and the muscles of the eyes. So nice.
Wow. I'm loving this. It's so interesting though, isn't it?
Well, the link actually to the ITV feature is on YouTube, so I'll share that with you.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
people can try a couple of the exercises because I actually took them through a few of the exercises on the show, which,
Wow.
to answer your other question, was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was so fun.
Oh. What was like the I bet the team and everybody were lovely, but what was the public reaction to that? What kind of feedback did you get?
Yeah, I mean, it was 99% really positive. It was, I got a lot of messages saying how good it was and how much they enjoyed it. And on YouTube, so many lovely comments. And of course, there's always the 1% of trolls who are out there, but
The
that's always
Karens and the Darrens.
honestly right. Yeah, but I mean, they did it so well. Like, from the very start, we have a research call and they talk to me to make sure that the stuff we're talking about, we're not putting out false information.
Yeah.
They're very, very good on that. And I was very grateful for that as well because, again, like I was talking about yoga, I want to respect the practices and I want to make sure that we're not just talking nonsense. So I was really
Yeah.
grateful for them and they were so kind. They were so friendly. I actually got a bit emotional afterwards. I was like, I can't believe how
Oh,
good that
I
was.
don't want to leave.
Yeah, literally, keep me here, please.
But I'm not being funny though, Jess. You could have well sold yourself there. You could have sold it from the mental health perspective, the physical perspective, and you could have been like there. Do you know what? Go back.
I mean,
You
I'm
could be their
trying.
consultant.
I'm pushing for it, don't worry.
Yeah. You could be like their team independent health and happiness consultant.
Oh my gosh, pitch it for me.
Yeah. Julia, are you
Yeah, yeah,
listening?
yeah. Get my PR agent on it.
Dear me. So Jess, it's clear that the work that you do is more than just a job. It's a lifestyle for you, and that shows in, the way that you talk about things. But obviously, you and I both know, especially being a woman in business as well, the way that the world is, anxiety, stress, burnout are so prevalent, obviously in this day and age. How do you manage to keep on top of your own mental health?
Mm.
Because you're so used to obviously helping other people with theirs. Is it more difficult to take your own advice?
Um, I mean, I think anyone that works in any industry where you are trying to sort of practice what you preach, it is tough. And with I mean, I at Gymbox, as I said, I'm the head of a category, so I look after a lot of instructors
Right.
who come and teach for us.
Mhm.
And I see how difficult it is to be a wellbeing practitioner in such a busy hustle of a world, where we're
Yeah.
hustling, hustling. And a lot of people in this space as well, are trying to make ends meet at the same time.
Yeah.
So it can be difficult to look after yourself. However, I think I've started to find a really good balance for myself. And the advice that I give to anyone that's sort of having, thinking, actually, am I looking after myself?
Yeah.
You cannot look after others if you're not looking after you. you will end up burnt out. You will end up with fatigue. And you will end up also, if especially if you're self-employed, having a
Hmm.
load of time off and being like, well, now I'm not earning any money. And it's just a horrible spiral.
Yeah.
What I've found helps me, and that the advice I give is really find things that charge your battery. Find things that keep you loving what you do. So for me, it's getting outside into nature. It's having enough time off in my week, but also in the year. I prioritize holidays, which sounds like such a privileged thing, but genuinely, if I don't do that, then I can't work, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I make sure that me and my partner, we get enough time away, that I get enough time to see my family. And when I have my weekend, which, years and years have gone by where I didn't have a weekend because I would work Saturdays,
Yeah.
Sundays, now I have my weekend. I'm so grateful for that, but I don't do any work.
Hmm.
It's so tempting to check those emails, to be like, oh, yeah, and especially if you run a business for yourself. And there's a lot of things out there, immediately Stephen Bartlett comes to mind just because just because he talks a lot about business, and there's a lot of people talk about, you have to stay up until 10 p.m., these late nights, these,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying anything against the people that work crazy late and that, that push themselves to achieve things. In fact, they probably achieve more than me, and that's okay. But I know that I personally can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't run a business if I'm tired, if I haven't had enough sleep. I can't look after my clients if I haven't had that time off.
Hmm.
So I think it's very individual,
Yeah.
but I think having that time where you fill your own cup is so important if you want to keep that business running.
Definitely. And I think having that degree of self-awareness
Yeah.
is important as well, isn't
And
it?
it's hard,
Yeah.
actually, that can be step one, right?
Hmm. Totally. And I think knowing, being aware of your limitations and celebrating them rather than seeing them as a negative, I think is really important for us to do too.
Hmm.
Especially, like you say, we're in the age of social media where we see everybody seemingly working all the hours that God sends, and
Yeah.
being this multi-figure bloody business owner, but the reality is very, very different. And I think we have such massive pre-expectations that we put on ourselves. I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of the time why a lot of us suffer with anxiety, burnout,
Yep.
overwhelm, why all of those things come to the fore, because we don't look after ourselves first.
And it can be very difficult for people to be able to grant themselves permission to rest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of shame around taking that time. And again, especially if you are self-employed, if you don't have that sick pay or that holiday pay, it can be very challenging. And rest is also something that you have to work on. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
a lot of my one-to-one clients, to be honest, in this, I usually work with people for 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
And in that second week is when I usually introduce relaxation techniques and grounding techniques, because that can be a real key for people in overcoming anxiety and burnout and
Yeah.
fatigue if they learn that resting is safe
Yeah.
and that resting is necessary,
And that
you know?
resting is a positive thing rather than a negative
Yes.
one.
Yep. Yeah.
It's crazy. To be honest with you as well, like for me personally, I started using mindfulness as a result of feeling like I had no control over anything, because I was in a position with my business and my life at the time where I felt like I was just spiraling, and I needed something to take me away from that and to
Yeah.
reset me. And initially, because I'd seen loads of stuff online, I thought, oh, it's maybe not for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. But literally, Jess, it changed everything for me. It allowed me the space, even though it was only, 10 minutes a day, to incorporate a new habit into the way that I was working and living. It allowed me the space to have my own thoughts for that time.
Yep.
Where, because I've been so used to picking up my phone, scrolling on social media, convinced that I needed to answer emails, like you said, at stupid times of night. But when I started putting those boundaries in place and making that particular time for me, game changer, changed
Absolutely.
everything.
I remember someone once said to me, I can't remember who it was, or was it on telly? I think it was a famous actress said it actually, and I cannot remember who it was, said that meditation, and whether that's it, mindfulness, breath work, whatever it is,
Mhm.
meditation gives you more time in your day.
Yes, it
And I remember
does.
being like, I don't understand that. Like at the time, I remember thinking, what? Like, what do you mean? And it's even as a yoga teacher, it took me a long time to understand what that meant.
Yeah,
Because, and again, you just said only 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes is actually amazing. That's a really decent amount of time for you to take. You know, it's about just implementing it bit by bit,
yeah,
small, even if you sit for 2 minutes and you take some gentle breaths in and out for 2 minutes, you just did something for you.
yeah,
And then as you start to feel the benefits, you'll do it for longer.
exactly.
And like you just said there, you then had more time and you had more space in your own mind.
Mhm.
It's incredible. It really is. And it takes some time if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know where to start. I just couldn't do it. Trust me, it will take you a little bit of time.
Yeah,
But if you did it one day and then you don't do it for 3 days, then you do it the next day and then you go, oh, actually, I'll do that again. It gradually builds into a habit.
yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah,
It's about
so
we have so many habits in our daily life anyway that we would like to get away from if possible. That the
mm,
way that we work, the way that it's making us feel. So it is going to take a long time to undo that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
like you said, if you just start, that's the most important thing. Just give it a go.
hmm Bit by bit,
Definitely.
one little thing, and then you can build from there.
Absolutely. But that should be on on a t-shirt or something.
Seriously, yeah. On my wall.
Yeah. So you've had some incredible experiences, Jess, from hugging Lewis Hamilton to starring in School of Rock in the West End. Um, what's been your most standout or memorable moment, would you say, so far?
Well, can I just say, by the way, that that Lewis Hamilton situation happened the same weekend as this morning. So basically, I we were going to Silverstone for the F1 weekend this year, 2024, and we had gone over to my partner's house in his parents' house in High Wycombe because it was a little bit closer to get to Silverstone.
Okay.
On the Sunday, won't bore you with the details, but yeah, had the experience of hugging Lewis Hamilton, which was insane. And then next day, got picked up in a taxi at like 7 in the morning, got driven to this morning studio and did that. It was the
You don't even
wildest
have to get the
weekend.
train.
Oh yeah, oh no, they gave me a car and everything. I felt like an
They were like this.
absolute celebrity. And this guy in the car obviously thought I was some celebrity as well. It was
Yeah.
so funny. But yeah, it was just a crazy weekend. I think I think that weekend will stand out for me because it makes me emotional when I think about that weekend because it was just so perfect
Oh,
and so unexpected.
yeah.
You know, that this morning thing, of course, I will grant myself the, praise of saying I worked hard and
Mhm.
I achieved that and I will give myself a pat on the back. But at the same time, I had people messaging me saying, how did you get that? Like, who can I write to? Who can I? Genuinely, that came out of nowhere. You know, that email just came into my email. I didn't do anything for it. Like, obviously, yes, I'd created the
Yeah.
classes, I created the opportunity, but it wasn't as if I'd been emailing this morning or been.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I just think it will stand out for me as just. And with the Lewis Hamilton thing, I made that happen. You know, I wrote a big sign that said, "Lewis, can I have a hug?" But at the same time,
Manifestation.
literally, but at the same time, it actually just all worked out perfectly. My dad actually was in a little mobility scooter because he struggles to walk for long distances. So we
Oh,
ended up in the right place at the right time for
yeah.
that to happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was amazing. Getting School of Rock, that was being on the West End was my dream from being a kid.
Oh,
From being a kid, I just wanted to be in the West End, and it took me years and years, and I've had many, many knockbacks, more than I could possibly count,
hmm.
and I think that it's made me so, so strong in one sense, but in the other sense, it's made me be like, well, I had enough of those no's.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll always get knockbacks in certain ways, but I'm so pleased that I've also now carved myself a life that isn't so dependent on
Yeah,
whether on approval and validation.
definitely.
So I don't think I've really answered your question, but those
No,
three
I
things that
do.
you
Yeah,
mentioned are,
definitely.
are standouts for me.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, like my business head on now, I wonder whether you could do some kind of offering for West End show people to because it was so transformational for you
Mm.
as an actress at that time in your life. It almost like it should be part of the curriculum. I know they don't have a curriculum, but you know what I mean? I think that it would
Yeah.
be amazing.
I mean, I've been into a couple of drama schools with the work that I've done in the past. To be honest, I think the work I do now is even more important for them because but back then I was doing yoga. I had a little tag, yoga for creatives is what I called it when I used to
Oh,
still be kind of fusing the two.
yeah,
Um, but now, yeah, I mean, I really believe that you're right. I mean, drama schools and colleges of any kind. I mean, I actually recently just did a breathwork and relaxation workshop and sort of an anxiety and stress workshop for a special school for the teachers.
wow.
Genuinely, this stuff is for everyone.
Yeah,
It really is, and performers need it. Everyone needs it.
yeah,
It's just it really is about tailoring it to specific people because I mean those teachers of a special school I had to understand where they were coming from. Of
yeah,
course they're going to be burnt out. They're looking after people 24/7 and there's a lot of pressure on them as well as
yeah.
like the funding that they need for those schools. And
Hmm.
but then a performer is completely different. They use their voices in certain ways. They've got the validation to contend with, the
Yeah.
auditioning,
The rejection,
the
the impact that
rejection.
has on their mental health, the
Yeah.
worrying if they're ever going to make it. Yeah,
And then
it's
the
more.
corporate space as well that I work in.
Yeah,
I mean, I work in corporate spaces, go into offices to give them some of these techniques. And again, that's another whole different area. People sitting for long periods of time, being
yeah.
on computers for long periods of time, the high stress that people have to deal with,
Hmm.
especially like sort of leadership
Yeah,
roles as well. So
definitely.
yeah, it's for everyone.
Yeah, and I bet that people like the ambulance service, the police
Oh,
service, I bet they would really benefit from your work too.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'd love to do some stuff for them. Yeah,
Putting it out
absolutely.
there to the universe.
Yeah,
Oh,
come on,
Julia.
anyone who needs it, come my way.
Exactly. But I mean, the corporate space is huge. And I know that a lot of corporate companies have a specific, I don't want to say pot of money, but a specific allocation of funding to be able to deal with employee well-being and stuff like this. So I think it's a huge, huge market
Yeah.
for you to tap into,
And
definitely.
I think a lot of these companies as well think that, you can just have one yoga class like every couple of
Yeah.
weeks and you'll be okay. And it's so much more than that.
Hmm.
It's well-being. Yes, hey, you should do yoga. Do it. Give them free yoga. Give them these things. But you also need to look at their in the moment well-being,
Yeah.
their long-term well-being. You need to look at psychological factors, psychological safety, how well-being is such a huge area,
Yeah.
you know, and the best companies that I've worked with are the ones who really understand that.
Yeah. And
And
I
they
think it's such a,
retain their staff. You know, they
yeah,
retain them.
definitely. And I think it's such a broad term, and it has been bandied about quite a lot, the term well-being. There's so much more that goes into that particular title, isn't there?
Yes, so much more. And it's so, there's some areas of the of well-being that, that I would pass people on. I would refer them. That we all have our specialized areas, of
Yeah.
course. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the companies have something called what's it called? Employee something. I've forgotten what it's called, but they have this scheme that they can go into. Um, and sometimes I think it's really helpful depending on, like I say, the company that provides it. But sometimes it's just like, you just get palmed off,
Yeah.
you
Or
know.
do a worksheet or something. It's
Yeah, do a
really
workshop.
impersonal.
Yeah, that people need also connection, and the more people
Absolutely.
are spending time at home as well, they're spending more time alone. You need that in-person human connection as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Jess, I could literally talk to you all day. But so my next question was going to be, what is coming next for you?
Yeah, so I'm working hard on building my business. So I have something called the Happy Healthy Club,
Oh,
which I'm sort of building out at the minute. So I did my first ever event in July this year,
congratulations.
where yeah, thank you so much. Where we sort of got a little community of us together, and we did breathwork, yoga, journaling. We had coffee, we had pastries. It was delightful. So
All I
this
heard there was pastries.
coffee
I'm there.
pastries. And so then this year, so in December, I'm going to be doing my next event. And this one sort of incorporates a little bit more. Oh, could you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. You just
Oh,
froze for a
good.
moment. I can still hear you.
Oh, good. Yes, so from that one, which was such a lovely success, I'm going to do another one in December this year, just before Christmas, the 21st of December. And we're going to have a little sort of festive yoga class, breath work, again, coffee and pastries, but we're going to do a little mindful walk afterwards. So we're going to take a
Amazing.
little mindful walk to St James's Park in London, do a little bit of bird watching, have a little bit of a chill, just
Oh,
because I'm such a strong believer in the power of the outdoors and nature, and you
yeah,
can find it anywhere. And so I wanted to bring that together in that event. So I'm doing that. So yeah.
amazing. What if I had like a magic wand and I could wave it and said to you, what is the big goal? What would you say to me?
The big goal is to have my own little studio outside in my back garden where I
Oh,
can build my Happy Healthy Club community. So I would have my app where
yeah.
people can be part of it with their little membership, building the community, in-person events, but also online events. And also my studio would be a space for filming, for meditations, but also have a few people in there, do my one-to-ones in there, etc.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So,
my goal.
okay, so let's think about what we can do to reverse engineer it. That's how I work with my clients. So
Is
have the
it?
goal, reverse engineer it. What steps do we need to take?
So I know how I'm going to get my app. She just needs to work towards. So I'm working more with one-to-one clients, and I'm
Okay.
building that up so I can get an extra day at home.
Yeah.
Because I've just moved house, and so I'm traveling into London 4 days a week. The goal is to travel
Wow.
3 days a week.
Okay.
So when when I'm building up working more one-to-one with clients online on my 8 week or 12 week packages,
Yeah.
when I've got that, I've got more of a stability, more time at home to build that and to get the money towards the app.
Okay.
So that's the stage one.
Yeah. Whereabouts you based, Jess?
I'm in Faversham in Kent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've just moved out and it's sort of commutable to London, but
Yeah.
it's close enough to all my birds and my nature that I need.
And then you've got the coast as well, which
And
is
we've got the
great too.
coast,
Mhm.
yes. Yeah, it's really lovely out here. And obviously, we've been able to, because we've moved out, we've been able to afford just a little bit of a bigger house. So I've even got a garden now.
Oh, a perfect space for your studio.
Exactly. What a treat. So we're
Oh,
manifesting it, we're doing it.
yeah, definitely. And you're already taking the steps to get there anyway. If you had to put
Trying.
a timer on it, when would you want it to all kind of fall neatly into place for you?
Well, I think the app could be happening by mid next year. So,
Amazing.
let's say by the end of the summer. That's my
Mhm.
goal for that. I think that's achievable. The studio might take a little bit longer, but I would say maybe the studio I would aim for 2026.
Okay, brilliant. Let's put it out there to the universe. Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic to chat to you, Jess. What I'm going to do is in the show notes, I'll put your link to your this morning appearance. I'll pop your website on there as well,
Mm.
and your social media so that people can run along and go and have a look into what you do because that's something that we didn't touch upon. I'm afraid, sorry about that, but the plethora of qualifications and expertise that you have in your field is insane. So
Oh,
everyone needs to go to the website, have a look, because there's loads on there.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I
Bless
mean,
you.
thank you. I've been loved chatting to you, and thank you so much for your positivity, and thank you to everyone listening.
It's been lovely to have you. And we will catch up soon and I'll pop everything in the notes for everybody. And if everyone could take one thing away from the episode is to just start. Just do a
Just
little bit.
start.
Exactly. Stick it on a t-shirt. All right, Jess, take care and thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.